your host, Sean Aaron, and welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. This show is a platform where trans men of color voices can be amplified as we share our transitional stories and many other issues that are relatable to trans men of color in our existence. This show is not only to amplify our voices, but to raise awareness and conversation around our lived experiences.
My next guest, I got the opportunity to sit down with Corali Gonzalez. They are an artist, an advocate, and community healer. In this episode, we talked about mental health. We talked about post-op depression. We talked about false narratives around transitioning and how there's no prerequisite or certain boxes that you need to check off in order to follow this journey. We also discussed Andy's GoFundMe page, which was set up in order to help Andy raise funds for post-op care. So stay tuned. Hey, this is Sean Aaron, the host of Dem Bois Podcast. Are you enjoying the podcast so far? Great. I'm glad that you are. Would you consider donating today to help support the continuation of this podcast? As you know, this podcast aims to serve as a platform to highlight and amplify the voices of trans men of color and share our transition stories. The podcast not only aims to amplify trans men of color voices, but it also raises awareness around our lived experiences. You would like to donate? Where can you donate? Great. I'm glad that you asked. Link in our description will take you directly to Network for Good, whom we've partnered with in order to collect donations for the podcast. Or you can visit our website. On the website, click the donate button, and from there, you are able to donate directly to the podcast. All donations are tax deductible. What does the donations go to? Oh, I'm glad that you asked. Your donation will help to support our production costs. We are working with Jasmine from Pink Lady Productions that brings you this awesome content. And also, we pay our guests an honorarium. Pay our guests an honorarium? Yes, we do. Why? Because as trans men of color, we would like to support and uplift each other and honor the time that's given out to come here and share their stories. So if you love this podcast, share and donate. See you on the next episode. Take care. Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. My name is Sean Aaron, he, him, his, and my next guest is an artist, an advocate, community healer. Andy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. My name is Andy Corali Gonzalez. My pronouns are they, them.
Thank you. I appreciate you for being here. So, Andy, I like to ask everybody to start, like, how did the name Andy, how did that choose you?
So I could break it down. The first name, Andy. I actually got the name. I'm really close with my little nephew. He passed away. So one thing that really reminded me of him, it was his favorite toy and movie was Toy Story. So I was like, you know what? I'm his Andy from Toy Story. So I was like, okay, like that. To honor my nephew, I chose Andy. And then Corali, I really love nature and so I really appreciate nature and honor nature. Corali of the water, of like the coral. So I was like, I want to, something that is really connected to me. So the water, the ocean. So I want to choose Corali. And just my last name is my mom. Last name Gonzalez. So have my mom in the front. So that's how I chose.
Oh, that's good. I'm sorry to hear about your nephew.
No, it's all good. Thank you.
Yeah. So the name, that's very powerful, like to be able to put together. I feel like it's a privilege to be able to like put together who you are and who you want to walk in the world and your name. And I appreciate you for sharing that. Thank you. So me and you, we met previously and I don't remember when or where or how many times. Do you remember when we met?
It was when I used to do youth organizing. We went to, I think it was a boy men of color camp.
Ah, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's where we met on the camp. And when we used to be the mentors of the youth on the camp. So it was really good, getting to know someone else also and building like healthy masculinity within the men of color, having another person. And it was really good to see like, oh, actually have my community here, my trans community here present.
Yeah. That's how we met. Okay. I usually remember how I met people, and then people usually don't remember how we met, but I'm glad that you remember. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where are you currently living at right now? What city are you in?
I'm in LA,
Okay, in LA. Gotcha. Cool.
South
So
Central.
South Central LA.
Yep.
Cool. So you're not that far from me. About a what, 5 or 6 hour drive. I'm in the Bay Area,
Oh, oh
in the
yeah.
East Bay. Yeah. So
Okay,
we're
okay.
close. Yeah. So just give us a little story. Like tell us your transition journey from beginning until now.
Yeah, so my transition story. So I came out at first it was I came out as, queer or like my sexuality at pretty young age as youth. And it was definitely a little struggle with my blood family. I would say more like the parents. But then, later on, now when I would say on my 20s, that's when I came out as trans. Well, I mean, I always felt it, but I was publicly open and sharing that with people. My 20s. And so I feel like the people that were really like mindful in my journey has been my queer familia, I would say, my friends, my sisters. So it was a struggle to even figure that out. Like, okay, like even put it into words what I'm feeling, because there was things a lot of like I was experiencing, going through and figuring out. Okay, like who am I? And I think like we sometimes, I don't know, from my experience, it was like I know how I feel, but sometimes the language, that's where I had the barriers to figure it out. And so I always felt like, okay, what do I, who am I? And so coming out as trans has been a different, completely experience than I came out as queer. It was completely different. And so having going through like, transitioning and actually advocating for myself at my jobs, at school, with my family and friends, and being called name by the way I want to and honor myself has been different, and some challenges for sure. But I struggle with a couple, um, you know, I struggle with a couple of things with like trying to navigate society and figure out what do I want, and not trying to, do what society wants me to be. So I think that's where my challenges came from. And my first process was like to try to ground myself and like, okay, what does actually Andy wants from this? And like, would I feel comfortable? And so yeah, navigating the world, even within the binary. Uh, but I feel like my trans community has been, um, the most, being with my friends and my community has been the most healing from all this.
Hmm. You said that there were some things that you didn't want to be based on what society thought you should be. What you want to speak on some of those things? Like what were some of those things that stood out to you that you wanted to make sure that you did differently, or that you did for yourself, not what other people thought you should do?
Yeah, of course. So I feel like, when I was doing my work and my research and like, okay, like what does it mean for a trans person, especially for trans person of color, like for me to see myself, I usually even see a lot of like the mainstream or the dominant culture of like, oh, like your experience can be like, you know, like a lot of examples I had, it was like in the race perspective, it was like with the white community, um, or like my experiences living in society, like I could like transition right away and I'm go for it quick. And instead of like it's my process and like I should like feel like I don't need to rush on it and feel like, okay, like I'm figuring this out, like where I feel comfortable, and so I felt like connecting with other people with my trans communities that were also like struggling with that. It was, checking, like having that group support that we were like, okay, what do I feel comfortable with doing within my transition? Like I just did my top surgery, and I'm pretty excited for it. Even the whole struggle it comes in with the pain and everything, but knowing that actually like, yeah, like there's things that I need to have, and like in order to get where I'm at, and like I decided to like wait until for me where I feel comfortable within myself, and like that I want this surgery, and even with testosterone, with all that, so I feel like it made me feel that when I came out, it was like this whole pressure of like, have you done this? Have you done that? Are you going to do that? And asking those questions, I was like, wait, I just need to first like sit with myself and process this feeling experiences. And from there, go on and deciding what I want and when do I want it, So I feel that that's where I was mostly.
That's so important, because we get into people think that, to identify as being trans, you have to check off certain boxes, and you don't, to identify yourself as a trans person, you don't have to have top surgery. You don't have to start T or anything like that. I remember right before I started to transition, I met with somebody was like, oh, you need to meet this guy. He's cool. I was like, all right, I want to meet him. And so he looked at me the first thing when we met, he didn't even know me. We said hello, and he looked me up and down. And then he was like, oh, you saying you trans, but you haven't even started T yet. And he turned around and like completely ignored me. And like, I was like, damn, like, for one, like I can still identify as who I am and not have to go through the same processes that you go through. So like knowing that the processes for each person is different. It doesn't have to equal the same thing for everybody, right? So how long ago did you have top surgery?
So I got on August the 15th. So I definitely know like the whole pandemic delay. I've been working on it for a while, but August 15th, I got my surgery. Honestly, I was like, for me, I was like thinking about it, and like the day of, I got in the morning. I was the first one in the morning. I just went in there and, I was like, it just felt right. I got in the surgery room and like, it just felt right. And I was just told the surgeon, oh, it was my anesthesia. I was like, okay, I'm ready. Just like, I'm ready for this. So I just feel like, damn, like was exciting. So it's been, I could say, I just finished this Monday, my second week. I'm going to my third week this week. So it's been pretty good. Yeah.
So how does that feel like to finally take that step? How does that feel like? What does that mean for you?
I feel like it's an accomplishment a lot for myself. Like it's been working through this, and like as I share, like a lot of struggles that I had, and like figuring out what I want. I feel like this is for Andy. This is for me, So for right now, like I feel like accomplished that, that I, even though all the things that I struggle with, like I did this, and like I feel pretty excited, and even though the healing process has been a little challenging, I feel that I'm right here, and like I just can't wait, where I'm just ready to go. My first thing is definitely like I like to skateboard, so ride my skateboard, like at the beach. So that's I'm looking forward to have more, experience my new, like the way I feel right now, comfortable in my body. So
yeah, definitely. Skateboarding. I used to skateboard until I fell off and broke my ankle.
sure.
And after that, I said, fuck skateboarding. Yeah, I was trying to go down the hill. I was trying to be an expert. And then my cousin came behind me and pushed me. So I went down the hill even further, faster, I mean, but I couldn't stop. And I hit a tree and like literally my toes twisted all the way around. So my ankle was in the front and my toes were in the back.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And after that, I said, yeah, I never got on a skateboard ever again. So I'm scary. I talk about that
Yeah.
before in other episodes, how scary I am. I'm scared of like everything. So riding a
Yeah.
skateboard is something else that I'm scared of. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. So you plan to go out shirtless, tank top? How
Yep.
you plan to?
On my short list for sure.
Oh, that's so
Having my
cool.
shirt by wrap up with my shorts. Yeah, so that's where I'm pretty excited. But by the beach, I'm not trying to go down the hill either.
Yeah, that was kind of silly. Yeah, I shouldn't have been doing that. Especially like I wasn't an expert skateboarder. Like I shouldn't have been doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you like really like to focus in on like the mental health of trans and gender nonconforming folks. Do you want to speak on that a little bit more?
Yeah, no, of course. I would say it started, my experiencing my own experience, the importance of recognizing how um focusing on like my healing process and like just centering my mental health in this journey has been really helpful. An example would be that was helpful for me in my own journey is like my sobriety, right?
Mm.
Within everything, um, with the alcohol or you know drugs, everything. I think that's for me was for my own personal experience. Everybody has their own, coping, but for me, it was like that was really helpful for me right now, just to ground myself and just like focus what I want to do and building other ways and avenues of like how to, you know, like work through my own stuff and like heal and center my joy. um and so with that comes with um you know within also my own work and organizing I did with youth and in my community, recognizing how within the trans community how that's so important for our journey, whether we want to transition or whether we want to work, which everything we want to do, recognizing how society how it impacts us, and creates a lot of barriers for us. So mental health, I'm currently want to become a therapist right now, because I recognize um I'm doing my master's in MFT right now, and I recognize the challenges that we go through, with the medical system and like being honored and recognized of like actually like, I'm not here to convince you who I am. I just, I want to be here and through this process and like as on, honor my experience. And so I feel that um that's the most important part is like having that the support for having like our mental health. Like I honestly, our journey shouldn't be like we shouldn't go through a lot of struggles just to be who we are and challenges, and like we should have the support system that we need, mental health, not only for us but people around us that are also like I want to work with families, so like what does that mean, how to support the family too.
Are you talking about families of folks that are transitioning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, in like working in therapy with the families separately or together with the trans identified folk person and then their family together or individually?
It could be depending in people's experience and circumstance. I
Mm.
really definitely want to work like with my community, in their journey, and in the transition in certain states. I know in California, like we need like the therapy letters, right? Like how
Yeah.
do you have it accessible for those things, resources? So for that and also for like if it's within um the system of the family, if that's something that will support even the youth, right? Like how to provide support to the family, and that's gonna help out, you know, if the trans youth, or like if, or the experience of our trans community, and for the family that also is trying to learn, because that's what I felt like. I felt like my family was also going through this. Even right now, my transition, my top surgery, is like they've been like, wow, like this is a learning experience for all of us. So definitely want to be able to support. Yeah.
Yeah. How has your family been like in reaction to it? Like, I know earlier you talked about your mom. Like, how was your mom specifically around it?
Well, to be honest, I feel like I like 2 days before, I had a conversation with her. I went to go see her, and I now we're at in our relationship. She's like really supportive, and I feel like she's also learning, like, what is like my experience, and she just shared her fears of like how our community, we go through a lot of stuff, and she was like, but I want you to be happy, I want you to know that I'm here for you, and which is a big changer, right? And so I feel like that um was really helpful. And even after, like me going through it, and like my partner, my family, they've been also learning, like, wow, it's like for someone to transition, for trans folks to transition, it's like they need all this, this whole support system. And like they've been like here with me, and through my, when I started, like when I came back, my sisters been there, and so they've been just holding me, being patient, understanding that, okay, like, and like my nieces and my nephews, that they are a big part of my life. They also been, they're kids, they're 6, they're 8, so they're so like really down and open, for kids.
Yeah.
So I feel that it's sparked more conversations about like gender, and like, in my community, in my family, that I'm pretty happy, I'm like, hey, like they are, you know, talking to the kids, within my sisters and my mom, like they're really been, learning a lot. So I'm in a positive way,
Yeah, that's good.
Mhm.
Definitely is good if it's in a positive way. I know like when you transition, like people are like transitioning with you, and some takes a little bit longer to adapt than others. I know
Yeah.
when I had my top surgery, like I sat down with my mom and had that conversation too, like a couple of days before. But my mom wasn't catching on that fast, and she was still uh saying the wrong gender. She was she, her all the damn time. So I told her, I'm like, you know what? I don't want you there with me at the hospital when I have surgery. And she was kind of shocked too. Like she was like, well, why not? I was like, because I don't want to hear she. I just don't. And nobody in the hospital calls me she. Nobody calls me my dead name but you. And I don't feel comfortable. And I don't know if like that conversation stuck with her, but she kind of started to shift after. I think like when they see like, oh, okay, you had top surgery, like, oh, okay, this is not a game. This is for real, right? This is like,
Yeah.
this is serious shit. As I know my mom at first, she tried to convince me not to have top surgery. She's like, you just need a better bra. I'm like, no, lady, like, no, I don't want a bra at all. Like, I don't want a better one. I don't want none of it. I just don't want any of it, right? So
Yeah.
I think it is about being patient, but you got to really learn to like advocate for yourself and speak like what you need. And we got to have those hard conversations with folks, even our parents.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Like what you just shared right now, I was like, I'm not gonna lie, that was the question I had. Like, who's gonna be here? Like,
Yeah,
like the people that need to be in my right now. Like, honestly, this is the time I have to just, what you just shared is like, you just have to center yourself,
yeah,
like you're gonna go through the whole process. And I feel like for me, that's the same thing. I just have to have these conversations and learn how to have um those boundaries. Even sometimes it's hard with family.
yeah. It is hard, but at the end of the day, you have to protect your peace. And if
Hmm.
they not with it, you kind of got to be like, this is happening. And, I don't want to have you involved at this moment, maybe later. But right now, I need this moment to be for me. And I don't want to, I didn't want to feel the anxiety of
Yeah.
being scared that, oh my gosh, she's going to call me the dead name. Or, oh my gosh, she's going to say, use the wrong pronoun. Like I didn't want any of that. And so I'm like, this is a major surgery. I want to feel relaxed. I need people around me that love me, that accept me. And so that was just what it was. I think she kind of got her act together a little bit after that. But, I couldn't have her there. So when we talk about like top surgery and we're talking about like how to fund top surgery, let's talk about access and like how the lack of access for trans men of color. Let's talk about that.
For starters, like the number one thing, to be honest, it's been a challenge for me. It's like, first of all, it's like even before having the surgery, having like a stable place, housing, like a place to recuperate, like all those things, like a job, I think that's where I saw my challenge. That's why one of the reasons why, I didn't went for my surgery until later, like until right now, because those were like real challenges that I had, like, okay, like I need to have, like, I didn't have like the insurance or coverage for a long time, my surgery, I didn't know the language or like the resources, the housing, the work stability it's so real, because like, I didn't got my place until like a month before my surgery,
Wow.
Yeah, so I was like running, like trying to figure it out.
It was cutting close.
It was so cutting close, and I was just so stressed out. And this whole pandemic definitely made things a little hard. And so I was like, damn, like I really have to like have all these things set up, And fast forward, like for me, I got the privilege or the opportunity that I got covered by my insurance. That I have medical here in LA, but recognizing the other challenges of like for trans masculine men of color, like those things are really important, like the stability, the employment, like do we even get that, or like challenges with the law, I gone through those things, the mental resources to process this journey, the support system, the family, or the friends, and so for me, my biggest challenge has been, it has been that, and even having people around, like, is going to be on my care, like, can people take time off work, or like my sister, my family, like, they're all moms, they have their kids, and so for me, I think that was the biggest, learning that, okay, like I need people to, the care after, I feel like I was like barely making it, having all these things and trying to plan this out. And, I feel like even after, like, I feel that surgery, I still didn't have the opportunity. Like I was barely making certain things, for the surgery. And so I feel like, definitely having like a job and everything, even right now with the pandemic, that's something that I have been jumping around for a while, and so now that I have the opportunity, that I have a little more stability, that's been helpful. But now, like, after I think for me it's like, okay, now I'm here, like I just figure out the most important things. Now I need to now also figure out now after the care. And so that's what's for me after the surgery. I was like, damn, I have to figure now this out after the surgery, like what will be my care. And so that's been the most challenging,
what would be like some advice that you would give somebody that's like, I'm in the same situation, Andy. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I know I want to have surgery, but I don't have a job. I don't have a place to stay. Like, what would be some advice that you would give someone in that situation?
What you're experiencing is real, those challenges. I
Mm.
used to doubt myself. I think um, what I'm experiencing is, those challenges. First, not, just recognizing that like it's not you, it's the how things are in society, like that has carried all these barriers. And be yourself, be true to yourself, recognize who you are, acknowledge that, surround yourself definitely with people who are there with you and for you in your community will be the biggest support, And so for me, it's like rooting myself to my community has been my biggest support through these challenges. But other than that, I think, yeah, that I have myself and the support that I have with me, and that's been really helpful to ground myself. Like my community through these challenges is like, you know, they've been here. So I think that's what I could say.
So you have your GoFundMe, and I feel like it's an obligation as a community to help each other, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to put it out there, like, yes, Andy does have a GoFundMe. I feel like we all should go on there and donate because no, like for real, we really had that obligation and that responsibility to hold each other and to carry each other and to take care of each other. And it's not saying like, oh, go give Andy $1,000. No, it's saying, hey, you know what, Andy, all I have is $5 right now. I'm not
Yeah.
going to get this Starbucks on Wednesday because I'm going to give my $5 to you to help you with your recovery. And I think it's almost like a chain reaction because then I feel like, especially if you've already had your gender affirming surgeries, I feel like it's really a responsibility to reach back and to help someone else because we know how that feel and we know the experience and we know the struggle that and everything that leads up to it. And I feel like as a community to hold each other, like it's our responsibility to help you. So if for anybody that's listening, Andy does have a GoFundMe, go out there, don't get that Starbucks, don't go get that Big Mac for lunch, you know, go donate to Andy and help Andy, to help recover because also recovering and not having to worry and not having to stress is a part of the recovery. And it
Yeah.
doesn't trigger anxiety and depression and all this other stuff. I know previously, me and another guest, we talked about post-op depression. So you
Yeah.
kind of fresh. I don't know if you've had any experience with that yet. Have you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. I think just like, um, definitely, I think for me, it was like, damn, like, even right now, the COVID thing makes it sometimes difficult even to see my friends. I
Mm.
was gonna tell her up a friend, like, hey, come over. She just got COVID.
Uh,
And like, so it's just so hard. And so I think for me, it's like having a community to talk through this process. It's not just, like, hey, like, how was it for you? Or like, there's certain things that are really difficult, for me. It's like having people helping me out, and it's like
mm,
certain things I can do right now. For me, it was like, damn, like I just want to really just center my surgery right now, and like what I'm going through. And sometimes it's hard, like figuring things out of like my care. Like, I'm seeing my doctor, my surgeon every other day, you know,
mm,
for my care. And so it's even so challenging that every time I go see them, after that I go to sleep. It's like
mm,
I'm tired. And so sometimes hearing someone like, hey, I've gone through this, like I think having my friends reach out to me has been really helpful just because like some of them it's really um it's sometimes it's really hard, to reach out and I'm just in pain, and I'm just like,
mm,
going through it. And I feel like for me, it was like, because for me, as an example, I got it in my left chest. I got a hematoma. So it's like, damn, I don't know if do you
No, you want to explain what that is
yeah.
for
So it's
folks who
like,
don't know?
okay, so I got like a blood clot on my left chest, and so I didn't got drains, and I'm not gonna lie, my surgeon appreciate them. They really did a really good job. But I did got hematoma, so going through the pain, I was like going every other day to get drained, this past week, and I went yesterday. And so it's draining, and sometimes I feel like I want to talk to my friend about it. Like I was barely able to talk to a friend about it not so long ago, like 2 days ago, like, oh yeah, like I have one, and I was like, okay, like, or feeling like, damn, I feel like we talk about like, oh, like how like this been a good thing, but talk more about the pain stuff, that it's real, that it happens. And so it's like I feel like it's been difficult for me to like even document myself, because I want to be real, like, document myself, like, yeah, like I went through everything, the good, the pain, everything, and recognizing that's part of it. And I didn't have those. I think I was looking and thinking and like going over like videos of other people's experience, but I feel like I there's a lot of learning curveballs that I had, from the surgery afterwards, and like the aftercare, um and having the right people with me. I feel like that means a lot. So yeah, it was it sounds a little bit of everything, because I'm still processing this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
When we talk about when I talk about post-op depression too, like, do you have any like feelings towards your body now that may be negative that you didn't think that would come up?
Yeah, um I think I would compare myself sometimes with other people's journey. I think that I was like, damn, why do I have this? Like, I think for me it was that. And to be real, I think that's been the most, a little challenging, comparing myself with other people's journey, and, thinking about like, um, I think for me at first, I was like, okay, I had this surgery, and um, being tender with myself and patient with myself. I think for that it's been a challenge. Like I feel that I've been um learning to, just rest. And I have, my friends always tell me, you just gotta rest, don't push yourself. And I've been thinking about like the outcomes, like my own expectation. My friend before this, I'm glad a friend told me, like, what is your expectations of it? What if, ask me all this question? What if it doesn't, something that you don't expect? I think those kind of questions was helpful for my friend to ask me. My expectations after like post surgery and stuff. And I think the most challenges has been compare myself to other journey, but at this point, honestly, I'm just trying to see myself out the tunnel from the healing part. And I was like, like the skateboard, that's what I've been thinking. And so I think my my biggest challenge is just to be patient with my body and in the process of the healing and everything, and not compare myself with other people.
Yeah.
Any but and the expectations of how am I gonna feel and look, I'm honestly, this is still new to me right now. Like every time I trip out, like I see myself in the mirror, I was like, oh my God, like this is real. And so I started thinking about it. Was it gonna feel like, where I'm healed and like
Yeah.
about the binder, like that experience. So yeah, I think yeah, I'm still going through those waves right now.
Yeah, it definitely takes some time to get used to. Because I know when I first had my surgery, I had a lot of depression. I was like, what the hell did I do to myself? Like I talked about this before. Like I used to, because I had large breasts, I used to lay on, I was a side sleeper and I would rest my arms on my chest. And then when my chest was gone, I was like, well, what the fuck I'm going to do with my arms? I don't know how to sleep. So it's like all these different things that you think about, but it's like not comparing yourself to other people because your journey is your journey. Your story is your story. You can't compare to nobody else because you're not anybody else. You're Andy. And so I sometimes like I may say I think that some people have good results, some people don't have good results, some people have complications, some people don't. And I was talking to someone like a couple of days ago, they just had top surgery too. And so they were like, "Oh, I'm getting my drains out." And in my mind, I'm thinking, "Oh shit, that's gonna hurt." But I didn't say that. I didn't want to tell them that because it hurt for me. I literally want to choke the shit out of my surgeon when he snatched the drains out. I thought he like literally ripped my soul out of my armpit. That's how bad it was. But I didn't want to share that with them because I was like, well, I'm a wait until they tell me how the experience was. And then it was like, oh, it was cool. It didn't even hurt. I was like, God damn it. Yeah, but that was my experience, right? They didn't have the same experience. So it's like being aware that, this is your journey and just, to embrace your journey and to definitely document it. If you're not publicly documenting it, definitely document it for yourself because you want to look back down the line and be like, yo, I went through that. I recovered and I healed. It was like parts of myself that I didn't think were ever going to heal. But now, fast forward years later, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm finally happy with what I did and the choice that I made and how everything looks. So it takes time. So definitely be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate you saying that, Sean.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So go back to your GoFundMe. So the link to your GoFundMe, I'm gonna put in the show notes. So for anybody that's listening, I'm serious. Help Andy.
Thank you.
Donate. Yeah, because it's one less thing you got to worry about when your community takes care of you. That's what this is about. Like community taking care of community. So definitely.
Yeah, and I do want to share. I think it's fundraising. It has been something been going on historically within our community. Like I remember going to my friends' fundraisers for their top surgery, or like being part of the care team from my friends. Like I think that's the beautiful of our community is like how we are here for each other. So I think that's the most powerful that we have. And it's like we built other avenues of how to support each other. So definitely I will always appreciate people who've been supportive through this process.
Yeah, for sure. Holding each other is necessary for sure. For sure. So is there any bit of advice or like last words that you would like to say for anybody that's listening?
I think I will say that I think for my trans community, for my trans, masculine or men of color community, trans men of color community, it's like, bro, we got each other. Well, this is, we're magical, powerful, and we're, be your authentic self. Who do you want to be? Focus who you really want to be first. And I think we're sacred and honored for who we are. And so I think that's been the most important for me right now is like remembering like damn, like I recognize the most like right now that I'm going through my whole healing. I was like, damn, I'm actually strong, powerful person, to go through this. And I'm like, I did the surgery, I'm doing it right now. Like, I'm actually a powerful person. Like, I all the times I will question myself, oh damn, like, do I have the ability, do I have the capacity, the ability to go through this? And like, or even who I am, the times that I struggle to really honor myself, like when I would question myself because of outside society. I was like, no, actually I am powerful, you know, I'm
Mm.
honorable, and that grounds me to be like, I'm here, you know, and I'm deserved to be here. And, you know, so I think our a little bit of advice is that we are a magical persons, you know, our community. So
Yes, I love that.
yeah.
Thank you. So this is the part of the show where I ask the guests a random question. So I got a list of questions. The list is always growing. I just randomly come up with stuff. I'm like, oh, that's a good question.
Okay.
So right now the list is at 22 questions. So you just pick a number between 1 and 22, and then I'll read you that question. So it may or may not have anything to do with what we talked about. So
Okay, I'll say 17.
17. Okay. 17 says, what was the one thing someone told you prior to transitioning that once you transition, you realized was false? We kind of touched on this too.
Yeah. Now, I probably could be more specific. I would say all those expectations and rules that I was put on as I was transitioning to being being trans, like masculine, or in the spectrum of, or like a man, that I was supposed to be this way, and like I'm a box in this way. And I remember going through some workshops. I was like, what is going, like hearing stuff, and like, you know, or within like the cis community thinking like, or putting all these expectations on me. Now that I transitioned and I'm going through this, I'm definitely far beyond than what those boxes people had tried to put me on, you know, because honestly, I study my ground to it and just be like, actually, like, yeah, like I identify this way, you know, with, or it could be like within the binary or not, you know, like, but like I could be as fluid as I want to, you know, and I feel like that has been, you know, has been really like healing, you know, because I feel like I had a lot of this pressure before of like, damn, like I was like, what is it like following other people, how my experience should be? I was definitely feeling like that's definitely false, you know. I was like, nope.
Absolutely.
Even right now, I had my top surgery. I was like, I'm still learning more of myself every day, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I know the one thing that I spoke on it earlier, the one thing that I was told before I transitioned was I need to be on T in order to transition or in order to identify as trans, which is false. And I'm glad I didn't listen to that. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
and I was kind of like you. I found my journey when I found my journey. I didn't always want to start T, but I listened to my body and I listened to myself. So I knew what it is that I wanted. And I'm glad I didn't listen to that person. And I hope that that person and tell other people that, and that they actually listen to that, because that's false. So
yeah,
you have to definitely find yourself within your own transition. Yeah, we listen to each other, but you have to actually be true to yourself and who you are and what you want.
What you want. Yeah.
Andy, thank you for being a guest on the show. I really appreciate you.
Same here, Sean. Thank you so much. Okay.
Yep. All right. Take care.
You too. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to today's show. Once again, I'm your host. My name is Sean Aaron. Be sure to like, be sure to share this show out with folks in your networks. If you would like to connect with us, be sure to follow us on Instagram or Facebook. You can also visit our website at dembois.org. That's DEMBOIS.org. If you think you will make a great guest on this show, or maybe you have a question for myself or a future guest that you would like to hear answered on the show, please send an email to hello@dembois.org. That's HELLO@dembois.org. Until next time, take care.